I used to play several mobile games when I was around 9 years old. I remember getting an iPod around 2008, and that was the start of a whole new mobile game catalog that I would get invested in. Cut the Rope, Where's My Water 1 and 2, and especially Angry Birds. I was obsessed with Angry Birds and played every single one of them until one day I just grew out of it. Angry Birds Epic and Star Wars 2 are still great, by the way. But despite the amount of time I spent on those games, nothing comes close to the amount of time I spent on the hit game Clash of Clans. Clash of Clans released on August 12, 2012, and instantly became a huge hit. Now, personally speaking, I started playing it around December of 2012, and I played ever since. I used to play this so much back in day in and day out, upgrading my base, attacking others, and upgrading my troops. It's so funny for me to look back at when I played because the game has gone through so many changes and simply just become a better experience as a whole. Like, for those of you who played back in day, do you remember when traps have been used you had to pay to set them up again? Or how troops used to take time to create, with the much big ones taking half an hour? Yeah, those are things I don't miss. But I still have a lot of fond memories of playing this game back then, like finally unlocking the Barbarian King. Back then, Dark Elixir was super rare and really hard to get, so I had to grind so much just to get enough Elixir to finally get the Barb King. It really felt so satisfying unlocking him, or finally getting the X-Bow. It was such a cool defense system, being able to shoot from such long distance. Only downside is that it actually cost Elixir to actually rearm it. But then when you unlocked the Inferno Tower, whoa, you felt so powerful, being able to shred big enemies so fast. Those are things I will never forget about when playing this game. And that village theme, every time I hear that I get this huge sense of nostalgia. I just played it so much and I never got tired of it. But then released a spin-off of it called Clash Royale.
You like this pussy?
And when I started playing Clash Royale, I pretty much stopped playing Clash of Clans, at least for a little bit. I pretty much started playing this around the year it was released, and yeah, I was really addicted to this game too. I still remember watching those old trailers for the cars that are going to be in Clash Royale, like the giant skeleton, like, wow, here's the skeleton, who's just big, it looks fucking cool. And unlocking Prince and feeling so satisfying getting an epic card. And still to this day, I use Prince a lot. And then we got my favorite card in Clash Royale, Bandit. She's easily the coolest character in the whole franchise. It was really different but also so fun. And just like Clash of Clans, I still play it to this day. Despite some of the bad changes it do. Actually, a lot of the bad changes. Now, I'm telling you all this because when you become a big fan of something like this, you want more. Maybe another spin-off game, or merch, fan art, or perhaps a YouTube series. If there's one thing that everyone can agree on is that Clash of Clans has amazing animated commercials. They are just so fantastic. I love this so much. They're always such fun watches. I would re-watch several of them over and over again when I was younger. And of course the same can be said for the Clash Royale animations, they're also just absolutely top tier. And with both Clash of Clans and Clash Royale, the animated commercials just got better with better lighting and better animations and so on. These animations were so beloved and so good, they even made a short film called Lost Crown. By the way, that is an amazing short film that everyone should watch. Even if you don't care about Clash of Clans, watch it, it is so good. Now, these commercials were obviously 3D animated, but one day they would start to do something different. They will make a commercial with 2D drawings, and this will be the start of the Clash-A-Rama series and its great journey. Now, Clash-A-Rama is an incredible series in my humblest of opinion. Not only is the humor great, the animation style is really fun and the voice acting is top notch. This series had so much quality and charm to them. Whenever a new Clash-A-Rama episode released, you knew you would be eating good. However, for how well this series did, it only really got a couple sources first, then 2 seasons, and then a couple of sorts later, and then nothing more. I mean, they're still being released to this day. I mean, like the latest one was released 5 months ago, so they're still around, but not nearly as prevalent as before. Unlike, again, the 3D commercials, which come out like every month. But I'm telling you, Clash-A-Rama is a truly special series to me. So join me today as I will take you on a journey of what made Clash-A-Rama so great, and how much I just missed the series, dude. Like, I'm genuinely serious, I really wanted to come back. So, let's get into it.
you get it? I don't get it.
The first Clash-A-Rama short was released on December 26, 2014. One of the more interesting parts about this short is that it doesn't start with a Clash-A-Rama logo, but instead with a Tolerable logo. Tolerable Entertainment is the studio behind the series. Now the first video is not animated, but instead still drawings. This one shows what happened to the troops during the battle. Despite this being the first video they uploaded, the character designs are nearly identical to the later shorts and episodes, with the exception of one which I will get into later. I find it also really funny how the humor from day one is very Clash-A-Rama. Even from day one they knew how to be self-aware and funny. The next short they released would be similar to this one being about the bomber falling asleep while the narrator starts to panic not being able to find the bomb. Most of this one is still pictures, but there are some animations here. But the third short, that is the first fully animated Clash-A-Rama short. A simple yet fun short about a day in the life of a barb. Also, I'm just gonna refer to barbarians as barb because it's just easier to say. This one doesn't have any form of dialogue, but the next shorts would have different characters interact and talk to each other. These, like the Barb short, are also pretty fun, but I do like them a bit more. I think my favorite of this was the Giant's Life, where a giant is just talking about not wanting to fight.
People just see me as the big, dumb guy. What about my dreams? Mom, it happened again!
These shorts did really well, gaining a lot of views, which would only mean one thing: we needed more. And on December 6th, 2016, the first full Clash-A-Rama episode was released. And this is where Clash-A-Rama will truly shine. And this episode did extremely well, being one of the most highly viewed videos on the Clash of Clans channel. This episode would lay the foundation for the rest of the season. So now let's go over season 1. By the way, I just want to mention, I really appreciate how every episode has this Clash-A-Rama title appear in some way in the beginning. They always find a way to do it in a super fun and unique way. Season 1 episodes are essentially several stories for several characters. Let's take the first episode for example. This episode deals with a dragon named Louis, who has to quit using his fire for a week or else he won't live his full life of 800 years. We see him struggle with this as everything reminds him of fire. The other stories of a giant who was a defeated boxing champion, as he has lost respect of the village from the last battle when he could not attack the town hall but instead attacked a random wall. He finds an old boxing champion who helps him train for the fight. And lastly are these two archers defending the village from some attacks. The closest I could compare the structure of these episodes are like a Phineas and Ferb episodes where there are multiple plots in one episode. Giant vs Giant Problem is a really good first episode. It truly showcases the potential this series has, and the rest of the season definitely delivers. We get so many more characters with unique personalities and really fun stories. Example being in the third episode, like in Hog Rider Rides Again, where we follow Wallbreaker trying to go out without his bomb. He tries to enjoy his night, but his bomb keeps following him until he eventually gets mad at it, but he starts to learn that the bomb is really important to him in the end. This is also where we get this really dark joke, which is one of my favorites in the series.
Wait! Don't jump! You have so much to live for!
We also follow Frank, who is the owner of the bar that works to serve food and drinks to other troops in the clan, but he also does want to be a hog rider again and ride into battle, but his wife won't let him. And just like the Wallbreaker one, this one is pretty fun too. The last one is of a giant who wants to hang out with some archers, but they don't want to hang out with him. He tries multiple times to join them, but they always deny him, until they're put in danger by a bomb and he saves them, making them accept him into the group. And even gets to be snobby towards a wizard who was also in the same place as him. These two episodes are an example of how season 1 is structured, and I think it does work really well. Clash of Clans and Clash Royale has a lot of different troops, so the potential to make stories about them is pretty high. I think all the episodes in season 1 are great, but I do definitely have some favorites. The Barb Red Balloon is a really funny one. This one has 4 plots and they're all really fun, but my favorite one in the episode for sure is Rock and Herc. These two barbs who took a balloon and started to travel to a Clash Royale arena and causing a bit of chaos. And by chaos I mean sending the king's daughters high up in the air. Oops. I think they're really fun characters and have a really good dynamic. Herc being the one who wants to create these big adventures, while Rocky just kinda stays along for the ride. I also love the tile drop joke that appears when Herc says something. Honestly, I would have loved a full episode with these two. I think it could have been really fantastic. Ballad of the Barb is also one of my favorites. It has one segment where a hog rider teaches his son how to be a hog rider, which is a pretty fun one. It also has a plot with the villagers being angry at how long the town hall takes to upgrade, which also leads to this really funny joke and poking fun at Clash of Clans.
What the? That's as close as we get to immediately.
So a healer tries to calm them down. And it does work, but too well, as when the village is being attacked, they won't even attack back. But my favorite part in this episode is the barb who lost his sword. After not being able to find the sword, he gets depressed and doesn't know what to do, until a wizard transforms it into a witch. But shortly after, a woman from the other village has found his sword, and she also changed him back. One of my favorite parts about this episode is when he breaks out into song, but gets interrupted before he can finish it.
Once again, a barbarian. I love being what I am.
That's enough of that.
Now these are some of my favorite episodes in this season. And while these are my favorite episodes, there are also some other segments and characters from the other episodes I do want to highlight as well. In Bowlers Anonymous, there's a bowler named Herb who can't stop bowling, which caused a lot of trouble for the village. So much so that his own father had to make an intervention for him so he would stop. It's kind of a weirdly wholesome one, and in the end he actually does keep his promise not to bowl.
Booyah! 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 Booyah!
I'll talk to him about the darts and the dancing.
There's also this giant skeleton called Monstro, who only appears for 20 seconds, but god, he was just so cool. Also shout out to Joe, he deserved to win that election. But my absolute favorite character in this season is for sure Jacko. And I think Clash-A-Rama knew this because several episodes in season 2 would have him in them. He is such a good character. He wants to win the best wizard competition, but he starts to lose hope, seeing how good every other wizard is. But by using his own skills, he does actually win in the end. It's a really good episode showcasing the type of character Jacko is. Now the characters and episodes has been great, and I would say the same when it comes to the art style. Now taking a game made of solid 3D models and convert them into 2D show can be pretty hard. It's always going to look a bit different from the source material. And yeah, it's pretty obvious that Clash-A-Rama character designs does look different from the games. But personally, I actually really like the designs in the show, and in some cases, I kinda prefer them over the games. The designs are definitely a more comedic take, but it works super well. Like the goblins, I actually really like how they look a bit more pudgy here. Or that the wizards had more of a triangle shape for the heads. Now despite how similar the art style of the early Swords and Season 1 are, there are a few differences. With Season 1 launching, the colors got a lot more brighter, and honestly, I think it works for the better. The other thing that changed was the barbarian design. Everyone else is pretty identical to how they were in the early Swords, but the barbs got changed with the hair covering their foreheads, which I do prefer. It's also just more faithful to the design in the games. The animation in this episode is also really solid. There's some pretty good expressions and some very smoothly animated scenes. This also leads to some pretty funny visual gags. The show stays consistently with the animation throughout the entire series. Season 1 has 9 episodes, and overall, it's a really great first season. This season truly showed how they can make a series like this work. The self-aware humor really made it stand out, alongside the solid animation and the great characters. All the episodes are great fun. The voice acting in this series is really great as well. I think everyone does a great job voicing the characters. And rewatching this series, I realized that Tom Kenny was in the show. He pretty much voices half the characters throughout the whole series. Now, if you don't know who Tom Kenny is, I mean, have you been living under a barb hut? He has been in tons of roles, from Nickelodeon shows to Disney shows to like pretty much everything. This man is behind many voices, but his most iconic one will always be the Yellow Devil, SpongeBob. And at times in this series, he slips into his SpongeBob voice.
I should have been a dentist!
You also got some other recognizable voice actors, like Tress MacNeille. Her voice is just so soothing to me. Trish has played many great roles, like Mom from Futurama, Agnes Skinner from The Simpsons, and for some reason, 8 Land Before Time sequels? Like, Jesus, 8 of them? Really? She plays multiple female characters, and usually plays the Archer Queen, which I think just fits perfectly for that type of character.
Hi, Ralph. I dropped by to take a look at the tower progress, but it looks like you're taking a break?
And Jason Hightower too is also just amazing in this. His most prominent role in this series being the Clash Royale Kings and the Barb King.
A strike? And after all we've done for them, giving them jobs, constantly putting them in danger, paying them as little as we're allowed to by law.
Also fun fact, Jason voiced Jackie Wells, which really surprised me, but then I went, wait, no, actually, I hear it now. This makes a lot of sense.
Hey, fine. I guess you are my little pug champ.
The cast overall just brings these characters to so much life. Now, before we can cover season 2, there are a couple episodes that released after season 1, but before season 2. There's about 3 of them plus a short, so let's just cover them for now. This one is called Clash-A-Versary, which actually just features one story. It's about the villagers trying to find out where this statue came from, with some of them telling completely different stories about how it got there. This episode is really great for several reasons. First off, for being really funny as usual, but we also got different animation styles in this episode. We get puppets, we get stop motion, and lastly the one where it's all made of paper. It's a very solid episode and by far one of my favorites, but I also look at this episode as a prelude to what to expect from later on in season 2, a little appetizer if you will. The next episode to talk about is The Night Before Christmas, which is the second Christmas special in the series. This one is much more structured like a season 1 episode, meaning multiple stories. One has a baby dragon being left alone in a village and having to defend it from an attack. The baby dragon is absolutely adorable and it's just a really fun segment. The other one has Jacko trying to propose to a Valkyrie named Valerie, but she wants to dump him as she finds him kind of annoying. They share dinner together and fight Santa Claus, you know, the usual, and he actually does propose to her, with her replying, maybe.
She said maybe, maybe, maybe. Ah!
Actually, now it's no.
The last one is the Clash-A-Rama celebrating Christmas by finding a Christmas tree. They pick a rather ugly one which upsets the lumberjack, who accidentally spills his rage spell in it, turning it into the log. The log does terrorize them until they destroy it, and despite the tree being gone, they still find a way to celebrate it. The Christmas specials always deliver, and this is no exception. The last Clash-A-Rama to talk about before season 2 is the Clash Cup. This one being released 2 months before the first episode of season 2. And it is for sure my favorite episode so far. I mean, of course it is. It has Jacko and Herman, and they're like the best characters in the series. Anyways, this episode brings back Jacko and his brother Herman. And just like the Clash-A-Rama episode, this one only has one story, this one being focused on, again, Jacko and Herman. Jacko wants to join the Finnish team as they always have been the best team. He joins the tryouts and does well, but his brother effortlessly impresses the king and gets picked instead. This creates a conflict between Jacko and Herman, which results in Jacko making his own team of rejects and competing in the competition. This is a very fun episode, and I felt so bad for Jacko, trying your absolute best to do something, only for someone else not even trying and being better than you is super frustrating. But at the same time, I can understand from Herman's side being annoyed that Jacko just can't be happy for him. But that is not true. He knows that Herman is a very good wizard, it's just that Herman is lazy and he has the potential to be so much better than he already is. In the end, when they face each other's teams, Herman joins Jacko and tries to fight the Finnish team together, but they lose. Oops. But it's okay, cause they won the family competition, which is actually pretty sweet. But Herman also wins a trophy for being the real win in all this, which makes Jacko pretty mad.
That was an accident! But this isn't! Every single time!
I'm really glad we got a whole episode dedicated to these two. But with those episodes out of the way, we can finally jump into season 2. Now, season 2 is interesting because it is different in terms of episode structure. Season 1 episodes were structured featuring different stories in one episode. Now, several of the early episodes of season 2 are like this, but the later episodes will be structured exactly the same as Clash-A-Versary and the Clash Cup, meaning one story in each episode. But the most interesting part about this is the length. A usual Clash-A-Rama episode to this point has been about 8 to 12 minutes, but later in season 2, these episodes last up to 20 minutes or more. And these are by far the best Clash-A-Rama episodes in the entire series. As good as season 1 was, it did have one downside, and that is that some of the characters didn't get as much screen time as I really want them to. Like again, Rocky and Herc, a really fun segment with really fun characters, but I really wish it was longer. Or Herb the Bowler, for example. I want to see more of him. Just a couple of example characters I wish got more screen time, at least a full episode. So the later half of season 2 does fix this and give us some fantastic episodes with the most memorable characters. But before we can start talking about the best episodes in the series, let's start talking about some of the early season 2 episodes. And there's no better start than with episode 1, how the other half clashes. This time it's only 2 different stories rather than 3. The first one starts again Jacko, our beloved, hearing about some goblins talking about some gold sunken down in the ocean. Once they find the location, he opens a treasure chest where there's a picture of the goblins showing their ass, and he realizes he has been fooled by them. He does actually manage to find some golden Pekka statues, but gets stranded on an island and turns crazy. Despite that though, this will not be the last time we will see him. The second story has the troops striking, demanding for better work conditions. The king and queen tries to find a solution to fix the issue without meeting their demands, and that's where they get the great idea to using the builders and villagers as troops instead. The troops gets annoyed by this, so they decide to be like the builders and villagers. And at first it seems to work. The builders and villagers are doing great at raiding others, while the troops are doing great at the village. But quickly after it's shown that it was not a good idea, as next time the builders and the villagers try to attack, they completely lose. And the troops just doesn't know how to fix and repair things. But in the end, the demands are actually met with better working conditions. This is another great episode and a really good start of season 2. I also just want to point out that since the Clash Cup, these episodes have an animation gag at the end of the episode. Before the Clash Cup, it just used to be the normal credits, so this is a pretty nice change. Now these next episodes are pretty good as well, definitely on par with season 1. There are plenty of good moments and segments here that I do want to highlight. The Clash Market, for example, has a segment where it's about the king choosing his deck and who will be in it and who will be out. It's made like it's an episode from a TV show. The different troops get interviewed, voice over from a narrator, and so on. It's similar to like reality shows like Hell's Kitchen and stuff. It also has a bandit character, which means it's automatically great. But my favorite part about this segment is that it's just so accurate to how a real life player would choose their deck. Like when a bandit gets a speed nerf of 5% and gets kicked out just because of that. The rest of the episode is good, but this segment was definitely my favorite. Rockets Red, Blue and Glare has a parody of the space race from the 50s. But instead of a space race to the moon, it's a race on who can attack each other's towers first. But it's here I realize something. I don't think the people who worked on this show really like the Dark Prince. Every time he's on screen he gets mocked or beaten. Like there is never a cool moment with him. I find it just interesting because I think most Clash Royale fans would agree that he is by far one of the coolest.
Prepare to taste the power of my power!
And you could have it all. My empire of dirt.
And in Sparky Go, we learn that hogs are super unloyal. Well, some of them at least. This poor hog rider gives this hog all his love and treats it so well. And even though they had a fight, they forgave each other. But when the hog rider is assumed dead, the hog leaves him immediately for another hog rider. Like barely time to mourn or anything. I think the worst part about this is that he's not the only one experiencing this. Like these has to be the most unloyal hogs I have ever seen. But overall, it is a pretty fun segment, and it does tie in the end with the other story. The other story in this episode is about a Valkyrie and an archer fighting an old Sparky, a super powerful troop which shoots big lightning balls. For several matches they do super well, but then it gets shut down due to low electricity. But the Valkyrie tricks an enemy Electro Wizard, and we get one of my favorite lines in the show.
I guess it's time for my last words. Oh no, I've got nothing.
But sadly, in the end, Sparky dies. Rest in peace, trash can on wheels. There is also another hog rider centric segment that has him and his hog stranded on an island, which turns out to be the farm from Supercell's other game, Heyday. I also used to play this game so much back in the day. This one was also really fun, but one day I just stopped playing. I'm not really sure why, I can't really remember to be honest. Anyways, both the hog and the pig falls in love with each other. The hog rider wants to go back so they can fight another battle, while the hog wants to stay because of the pig. But the pig comes with a solution to join the hog and ride it to the battle. I always enjoyed the hog rider segment, so this was a really fun one. But lastly, I also want to highlight another segment in this episode. This one being about a short barbarian named Gary, who despite his size has a great work ethic. Despite being mocked by the others, he tries his best to impress the king and show him he is worthy. And after a lot of hard training, both the king and the other troops gain respect for him and they actually let him battle. However, it doesn't quite end as you would expect.
I wonder what that crafty little dude's plan is.
Yeah, I don't think he's coming back.
Whoa! The only survivor! My training paid off!
I think the ending is what really gets me. He does all this training to fight, only to, nah, I'm going to live instead. Which for me is a really funny twist. That's pretty much the ones I want to mention, as they were some of my favorites. All these segments being from episode 1 to 8 in season 2. But then we do actually get a really unique episode in the series, this one called Clash-A-Lot. This is a musical and it only features one story. Now I really like musicals, so I knew I was going to like this episode, and it is by far one of my favorites. This episode is about the daughter of the Red King wanting to help her father to give some new strategies, but he won't listen and wants to do things his own way. She gets frustrated and leaves the castle and dresses up as a bandit in order to find a group like her, but it proves pretty hard. She eventually does decide to help the Blue King side, and that makes her father conflicted on if he should let them win or not. And when her father sees what she's been doing, sees how their strategy has been really great and working a lot, he says he is proud of her and should have listened from the beginning. And in the end, they end up together as father and daughter, and they all sing. I really like the story and I find the music really good. I like how there are different genres of music and different characters that will represent that. King sings slowly but with an orchestra in the background, while his daughter has a more fast-paced rap. You also have these goblins singing pop. I also want to shout out to the Giants and the Ice Wizard. When they sing, it's just absolute cinema.
Figaro, Figaro, you should go Figaro, Figaro. That's all we've got to say.
Now, so far in the series, outside the musical, there hasn't been anything really that different from season 1. You know, both in terms of structure and in terms of the runtime. Each episode being, you know, the usual 8 to 13 minutes. But from here, the episodes will be different. These episodes will be twice as long as a usual Clash-A-Rama episode, with one exception. Now for some series this could be a bad thing, as it can make the episodes feel very stretched out. But for Clash-A-Rama, this was the best thing that ever happened to it. These next episodes are the series at its absolute best, and I can't stress enough how good they are. But I'll try and explain why these episodes are so fantastic. The episode Clone Alone is about an executioner named Edward, who is a pretty nervous guy. Actually, very nervous guy. He gets scared of talking to people and worries about pretty much everything in his life. Usually spending his time alone in his house just worrying about stuff. One day when he is in battle and gets cloned by a clone spell, they win the fight. But the clone for some reason doesn't disappear. The clone of Edward is called Eddie, and he is quite different. He is super confident and never worries about anything, despite how much more fragile a clone is. Essentially, if he steps on an arrow, he would die. Eddie tries to help Edward to worry less and live life. What I really love about this episode is simply how relatable it is. I can relate to Edward. He is scared of losing everything, you know, like his house, his pet, and just all of his stuff. And in general, he just lacks self-esteem. There are many things you can worry about in life, but Eddie tries to prove a point that despite how fragile life is, you have to live it. Sitting home every day completely alone and not want to try and live life is only going to make you feel lonely and miserable. But the episode does actually take an interesting turn, as Edward starts to gain more confidence. He starts to talk to more people, go more outside, and it's great to see. Meanwhile, Eddie actually starts to worry more. Now he's getting married to an archer, getting scared of losing it all. They were also apparently having twins, so that's even more things to think about. And the funniest thing about all of this, during this part, Edward has to come to Eddie and tell him to live life and to stop worrying. The same thing Eddie told Edward. It does take a while, but eventually Edward does manage to make Eddie stop worrying after having cloned him like 7 more times, because every clone after Eddie is more and more fragile. Unfortunately, number 8 died by fly. I really love the clone story. This was a really fun one. But the episode does also have a side plot. This one being about the Archer Queen finding out a witch has a sister. But the witch hates her sister and doesn't want to talk to her. And her sister hates her back. The Archer Queen does try and make them friends again, but it doesn't work at first, so she decides to force them to get along by trapping them in a coffin, and it actually works. It's a cute side plot, but the clone story is really what makes this episode so fantastic. Again, this is by far one of the best episodes in the series. The next episode is episode 12, this one being Donnie and the Spell Factory. It's about a young builder who wants to become a wizard, but his father tries to tell him that he will never be a wizard. After all, he is a builder. His father got a job to work on an arch tower for the Archer Queen and need to get it done by 5 days. And at the same time, the old spell factory is reopened. A factory where they show off how to make spells. But there is a catch. Only wizards are allowed to enter.
Excellent. Right this way. Fake ID, fake wizard. I wasn't spawned, fought, then donated from Dino Fright 324's village yesterday, jerk!
But despite that, Donnie still travels to the factory. He does manage to sneak in by telling the guard that he's going to fix something in there. He puts on a wizard disguise and sees all the cool different types of spells they can make. He even gets to show off his skills as a builder, which actually impresses the head of the spell factory. He gets a job to deliver spells to the Clash Royale arena every time there's a green smoke coming out of the spell factory. Meanwhile, he and his dad also starts to argue and get mad at each other, as Donnie doesn't want to be a builder because he thinks they're lame, and his father being mad at him because he doesn't want to help him do his job. The story does steer, however, to his dad finding out he went to the spell factory and feeling disappointed, which creates this really awkward tension between them. But despite that, he still continues to deliver the spells to the Clash Royale arena. As usual, Donnie does deliver another spell to the Clash Royale king, but also gets asked to be in battle. And because he is not the wizard, they lose the battle, which makes him feel really disappointed in himself. But apparently his dad also followed him there to see what was going on. The bridge collapses in the arena, and because of that, none of the kings can fight each other. So both Donnie and his father does what they do best. So they fix the bridge and everyone is really happy for it. And in the end, despite having so little time left, Donnie luckily have a race spell which increases speed by a tonfold, which makes them being able to finish the Archer Tower just in time. And just like Clone Alone, this episode is also just fantastic. Donnie is a pretty likable character, and so is his dad. They both have such a good dynamic with each other, with Donnie feeling like being a builder is not cool or important when they are realistically the most important people in a village. But I also understand his dad's frustration. You can see from both their perspectives and why they argue with each other. I also love the Spell Factory. It's a really cool location with some really fun background gags. Also Archer Queen, I mean, she's just really cool. I really like her. Oh, and also Bandit is here, and that also means that the episode is automatically great. Both this one and the previous one were great, but you know what? I'm gonna say I like this one just a little bit more. I think the fact that this episode doesn't have any side plot whatsoever makes this episode feel a bit stronger. So for now, I would definitely say this is probably my favorite episode. But again, there's still a couple more to cover, and they're also amazing. The next episode is Porktergeist, and this one is by far one of my favorite episodes in the series, like top 3 at least. It is such a rock solid episode. This episode is about a builder who owns a hog business selling hogs. Funny how we saw this character before in a previous episode when a hog rider tried to buy a new hog. However, his business is not doing well and he is desperate for something to change. I felt so bad for this guy. His business is failing, his hog shop got moved outside the Clash village because of the king wanted to have a flag there, then his hog shop gets attacked and demolished. Like, give this poor man a break, dude. That's when he meets the royal ghost, an old king who is now living banished to forever think about his failure of losing and then think about strategy. But with the help of the royal ghost, he does help the builder with his business. There is also Valerie, who is super successful and wants to buy his hog business, but he refused to sell it as his father was the one that owned his business before him, so it's very sentimental to him. The royal ghost actually does help a lot with his business, but not only turning it into a hog shop, but just a shop with a lot of different items. But the ghost starts to plan out some different tactics, and by that I mean wanting to send a bunch of hog riders at Valerie's shop to destroy it, and well, it could have gone better. The episode ends with a builder's hog shop getting destroyed by Valerie. The royal ghost then leaves to go back to the cave, only for it to be revealed he wants to lose so he can have a new enemy to ponder over and be miserable. Now with his business being gone and everything be destroyed, what can he do now? But it does actually get a pretty good idea. The builder takes revenge by making the ghost cave a tourist attraction and manages to make a successful business. And with this he can finally buy his daughter braces. And this is yet again a great episode. I love the builder and his struggles, having a family too, which makes him want to succeed even more. The character in this episode is really great, but I especially love the royal ghost himself. He is by far top 3 favorite characters in the series. He is such a unique character, and I love how he tries to help the builder with his business by giving him war strategies. It's also interesting how this is the only time he will make an appearance, none episode before or after, so it really makes him stand out a lot more. Valerie is also a really fun antagonist. I like the scene where she gets mad and destroys her table.
According to the latest sales numbers, Valerie's Hut Depot is now ranked 2nd to hogbacks.
I have not mentioned this before now, but every time there's an episode of one of these that has a Valkyrie character in it, you will always get a reply on one of these videos with, "We are cracking to the Valkyrie." Why they make the Valkyrie so fake? The Valkyrie artist is responsible for my taste in women. Valkyrie is so bad. Phew, Valkyrie's design is, well, dang. And I can't lie, they're not wrong. Also, the Bandit is also in this episode, and I love the Bandit, and that's pretty cool. I love this episode. It's one of the best without a doubt. Right after this episode is Lost in the Nation, and this one is just amazing. This is one of the best episodes, probably my second favorite one in the whole show. This story features an archer named Jenny, who despite being so great, is very selfish and doesn't take orders from anyone. The archer queen gets annoyed by her, so she decides to donate her to another clan. However, Jenny gets stolen by another village she attacked earlier, and is stuck there. They try to tell the others in the clan that she got kidnapped, but they don't believe them. They try to give them 40 goblins instead, but they are not interested. If the king and Queen Sophia don't manage to fulfill the trade within 24 hours, they'll be kicked out of the clan. Jenny gets taken to jail in the camp village she got kidnapped from for not being able to listen to what they say. She also starts having a therapy session with this one skeleton and realizes she acts like this because she has always felt lonely. Always felt like she never fit anywhere, which is why she has a hard time working with others or taking any form of orders. Lucky for her though, the skeleton shows her a way to get out. Queen Sophia also feels really bad for donating Jenny and realizes it was a huge mistake, so she prepares to go and save Jenny. Both Sophia and Jenny does meet at the village, argue with each other at first, but learn that they're not really that different in the end. They team up in this really cool fight where they just take down everyone. Jenny is safe, but Sophia doesn't want to donate her after all, but she has to do it or else they will be kicked out of the clan. But that's when they come up with a pretty fun idea. They go to Kitten Lover and tell them they can give them something better than Jenny, that being flying spear goblins. Kitten Lover is very impressed by the goblins, so she accepts it. But both Sophia and Jenny have a run for it as the goblins can't actually fly, their wings are just glued to them. This episode is just great from beginning to end. I really love all the characters in this one. I like Jenny, despite how overly confident she is, she's not trying to be malicious. She just has a hard time being around others because she feels so different, which is why she feels like she's always alone. And she has to be the most powerful archer ever. Taking down almost half the village alone is some insane power. I also love Sophia. She's probably my favorite archer queen in this series. I do really understand her frustrations super well. Having someone not listening to any of your orders and advice is super annoying. But I'm glad both she and Jenny made up in the end. She's also just super cool. Like her infiltrating the village shows that this woman is dangerous. And I might be saying something controversial right now, but I much prefer the Clash-A-Rama Archer Queen design compared to Clash of Clans Royal design. I also love the Bar King, you know, the husband to Sophia. He's also pretty cool and has some pretty funny lines.
I don't want to say this was all your fault, so good night.
And the Warden was also fun. The Warden has been in multiple episodes before, but this is definitely my favorite use of him. He just fits being a judge so well. And bless this one barbarian's heart, he deserves the world. The jokes in this one were also really solid, probably one of the funniest episodes in the series.
This clan hereby recognizes that only donating poison spells is officially lame.
I like poison spells!
All around, this episode is just fantastic. Definitely a must watch for anyone who's watching the series. Now the next episode after this is not a 20-minute episode like the previous ones, but rather a standard 11-minute one. This one being the third Clashmas episode. But despite that, it's still only one story. It's about the Valkyrie named Kira, who is going on a battle and tries to make it home for Clashmas as she has always missed it before. She also meets up with this miner named Mort, and they try to get home in time, and hilarity ensues. It's a simple but very fun episode. I think of all the Christmas specials, this is definitely my favorite one. The two previous ones, they were really good, very charming and fun, but this one I like because, again, I like to more focus on just one story. I really want to see Kira actually coming home for Christmas, and I thought Mort was pretty charming. A simple but another great episode. I really like this one. But now we are at the final episode. I can't believe it, guys. It's soon to be over. How did it end it? How did it end season 2 and the last full episode of Clash-A-Rama? With a fucking bang, dude. This is my favorite episode in the entire series. This episode is about a princess on the field who really wants to be in the princess tower. She's really good, actually quite excellent, but the king never noticed it, instead paying attention to the magical archer that suddenly appeared in the arena. She tried to talk to the king about being in the tower, but he tells her no, and instead puts her in deck number 4. Having had enough of this, she tries to track back where the magic archer came from, alongside her goblin sidekick. She does find him, but the goblin triggered some explosives, so now they're stuck in the village, and now she has to come to terms with her own issues in order to leave. But it is all for her benefit, of teaching her a lesson. And once she understands her lesson, she gets better and better at her training. Big part of the training was carrying these rocks that have been blocking the path, so now she can return to arena. Once she had returned to King, the king asked if the magic archer said something cool to her.
The oatmeal is best at the solstice.
Fascinating.
No, it's not. It's kind of gibberish.
And the next day, Ellie is put on deck 4 once again, but this time the magic archer is actually fighting with the red team. But instead of just watching the blue king lose, Ellie jumps in and starts attacking. She meets the magic archer again, and despite him having a bow and arrow sighted at her, she still has one last trick up her sleeve.
Maybe so, but don't forget, sometimes the answer is wrapped right around you.
Hey, that's my wisdom. Even still, I don't understand it. Hey!
The Blue King is very impressed by Ellie and wants her on the tower, but she refuses, as when she was in a training camp, she realizes she much more wants to be on the battlefield where she belongs. We had some previous episodes before that been about the character trying to prove themselves for someone else, and this is without a doubt the best of that concept. Ellie is a really cool character. I would definitely say one of my favorites in the series. I really like her personality and I find her really relatable too. Not being recognized for the work you put into is super frustrating. It can sometimes just make you want to quit altogether. But at the same time, it's also important to know that recognition is not everything, and in the end she understands that being on the battlefield, while not as high status as being in the Archer Tower, is still important. But I definitely think the Magic Archer is the best part of this episode. He seems so wise, but a lot of the things he says makes absolutely no sense. I love how the king is so obsessed with him just because he seems so cool. But again, his lingo just makes absolutely no sense. And the funniest moments from this episode comes from his not so serious or not so cool moments.
I had no mysterious smoke to mask my exit. I would have got some, but, you know, we were trapped in here and everything.
And just like the role goes, this is the only episode he will ever appear in. So it also makes him stand out so much more. The goblin sidekick is also pretty fun. I really like his love for burritos as well. And guys, I don't know if I told you this, but I really like the bandit. Like, I might have mentioned it like 1 or 2 times, but I mean, like, I really like her. She's in this. This was overall an improvement over the first season. The one story format worked so much better, and we end up getting the best episodes in the series. And despite season 2 being finished, you would think this would mean the end of Clash-A-Rama, but not exactly. They did still release a couple of shorts after this, like the Clashmas Christmas short. A very fun short about the Grand Ward giving a gift to the Valkyrie, but the gift was a stolen outfit from the Archer Queen. You would think it would end with the Grand Ward being humiliated and punished for it, but instead the Archer Queen actually put something else in the Valkyrie's gift box, which made the Valkyrie really happy. I mean, after all, the Grand Warden just wanted to give a nice gift. It had a really nice message about giving, and I really liked it. Plus, I also liked the scene.
Okay, Santa needs to let his ears nap for a while. We'll pick this up again next Clashmas,
We learned to write for nothing.
There was also a short showcasing the super troops of Clash of Clans, and it's pretty fun. There was another Christmas short called Clashmas Shift, where a barbarian is guarding outside the village, missing out on a party and freezing. That is until a royal champion sees him and decides to give him some warmth and food, with the others in the village joining too. Only bad thing is that meanwhile they were outside, another village had just raided them. But in the end, the barbarian had a good Christmas. It's pretty sweet. I really like this one too. And then they made another Christmas short, is Gift Exchange, where the Bar King gives another village a mini P.E.K.K.A. that will go rampant once started. The other village though does give him and the villagers some really nice gifts, which makes the king feel really bad. So they try to fix it by making the P.E.K.K.A. not dangerous. And it does work, until he hears about waffles.
Could we get waffles too?
They also made a short based on the 5th anniversary of Clash Royale, where our beloved Jacko once again returns as the host of the event. Also, I spy with my little eye bandit. They also made a short about the limited cookie troops in Clash of Clans, and a short about the Halloween event, which honestly would have been so fire if it was a full 20-minute episode. And lastly, and most recently, the Underclash, where they find some weird looking monsters after falling down to an underground tunnel. This one was released around 5 months ago, so they're still around, just not as much as before. And these shorts are just as good as previous Clash-A-Rama episodes, so it's just a shame that we got less of them now. I tried to find out the reason why season 3 hasn't been made yet, or at least why there's so much less shorts compared to before. Some say it's because the creators just did not have any more ideas, but I just don't believe that. With new characters being added and updates as well, I'm very sure they'll have very little issues coming up with new ideas. I think it's more of a case that the studio is just busy with other projects, and that happens. But I can only hope that someday we will get the full season 3 of Clash-A-Rama. But as for now, that is as likely as getting Half-Life 3. I can at least say that we got some pretty great shorts and 2 great seasons with content that everyone can enjoy for free on YouTube nonetheless. They did actually do a special event in Clash of Clans with skins of the different heroes in Clash-A-Rama style, and the environment as well. And it shows that they are very aware how popular and how many people really love Clash-A-Rama. So I just want to say thank you, Clash-A-Rama. I am so glad that it exists. I'm glad for the memories of watching this and laughing, and glad to see that it's still as great as before. This is still my favorite YouTube series, and it will never leave my heart. So thank you all for watching this episode, and as always, I will see you next time.
Do you mind?
Oh, sorry. I was just trying to wrap up this video.
Good for you. But maybe do it somewhere else.
Okay, guys. See you later. Bye.
Find a mission, or a mission will find you. All of Clash kind is one, fighting itself. To live is to clash.
Yes, more.
I'm getting a glass of milk.
Your troops are setting me free!